All right, so it looks like we got our shark fin from our prep tech. So we're plugged in AC power, so I can hot swap this. I don't lose power. So I'll put the shark fin. And then now I can add 2 batteries. All right, this allows us to hot swap. We can just pop one of these off if it's dead, put a new one, put the new one, pop the other old dead one off, and then put another new one on. You know, you may not want to wear this for a handheld. For a handheld, you might want to go single battery, just because it adds a lot of weight. A nice thing too is it gives you longer run time out of the camera, you know, and before you have to change batteries. Also, if you don't have a shark fin, a way to hot swap is what I just did right there. Is if you just grab a block battery, have a cable already attached to the block, and keep it close to camera if you're not living on the dolly, and just bring it over. Your second EC will bring it over, stab in, and then you can pop the battery off, and then you can pop a new one back on, and then just unplug and then move the battery out of the way. So that way, the camera never powers down. You never want your camera to power down unless there's a technical reason or whatever other reason. You don't need to power down the camera because someone's going to be looking at a monitor, the DP's doing something, the director, the client, the agency. There's tons of people looking at tons of different monitors, and if it goes down, everyone's going to freak out. You don't want everyone to freak out. So just make sure you keep your camera powered at all times, and this is a good way to do it if you don't have a shark fin. You can just do hot swap with the block. The thing when you're swapping out your lenses and doing all your programming is you can find out if your motors are in the right spot and if your rod is too far out. So I've got the 25 mil, which is the physically shortest of all my lenses that we're taking. So I'm going to throw that on. Didn't have to move my motors. They all line up. Of course they do on this set. But now look, if we look from the side here, this rod is sticking a little far out from the lens. Now, because we're going to put a clip on. Now this might not be an issue, but we're going to find out. Let's go check out our matte box and see if it's going to work. And we have our backing on here, and we also need to check if this is the right sized backing. So let's quickly find out. And if we go to put it on, this is the wrong size backing. So we'll just have to write on the board. I believe the Cooke S4s take a 110 millimeter. This is a 113. So we see here it's a 113 millimeter. So we're gonna have to swap this out for a 110. So we'll go write that on the board. Okay, so we're back. We've got the prep tech brought our 110. So we put that on. So now it fits. It's the right size for the lens, but it's also catching the corner right here of our matte box. This rod is just a little itsy bitsy tiny too far out. Luckily that's it. We just have to move it back just like a millimeter basically, and it should be good to go. So we'll just adjust it right now. Now let's see if I have to move my motors. So my motor, my iris, and they're just a little off now. So what we'll have to do is we'll just have to slide them over a little bit. There, and now we're good to go on our matte box. We have a little gap there, and we don't have to worry about the matte box touching and not going on all the way. Great, so now another thing is if, for whatever reason, if you do need to swing away your motors, what you can do is if in this build configuration, what you can do, you can also do it if you put them on the bottom, is instead of doing these individually, you can just loosen wherever the rod is. So I'm just gonna loosen from this bracket, and then now I can just lift these out and then just put them back in and then tighten it. Instead of just like yanking on this and pulling it or just loosening individually, this one's a lot easier than doing these. These can be a little bit of a pain. So there, now we're good. So our matte box fits. And another thing about the Cooke S4 is the uniform housing is all the fronts are the same millimeter. So this one backing is good for all of the prime lenses. We will definitely have to do something different with the zoom, but we'll get to that. I kind of glossed over mats for the matte box. So mats are inserts that go into the front of the matte box. They clip in the front here, and they help keep any flares or stuff like that out of the lens. So, you know, sometimes the DP will like it, sometimes they won't. And there are some DPs that don't like hard mats at all. I worked with a DP for a long time that he hates them. He doesn't use them. It's very rare that he will use them. But some other DPs, like they want to have hard mat in every time, all the time. So, you know, just kind of know what that DP likes. And then what determines on which one you're going to use is the cutout. So right now we're on the 25 mil. So the wider ones are obviously for the wide lenses, and then the smaller holes are for the long lenses. So you want to make sure that we don't vignette when we put it on. And you want it to be the smallest it can be without vignetting. So this one is good. So this one does not vignette. Let's see if we can go one smaller. Looks like, no, so this one vignettes. If we look here on the side here, it's vignetting. So we don't want that one. So the first one was the best one for the 25. So what you want to do is when you're throwing up your lenses, you want to throw up each hard mat and find out which ones work with which lenses, and then put some tape on them somewhere, on the back somewhere, or somewhere easy that you can see them. Maybe not on the front, because you don't want the actors to like maybe confuse it with an eyeline or anything like that. So I would put it on the back somewhere and write down which lenses this hard mat works with. So that way the second AC is not fishing through and you're playing a guessing game, being like, is this one small enough? Is it big enough? I don't know. So that way you can just be like, oh, we're on the 25. This one says 25 on it, and then throw it on. So make sure you have all the right hard mats. And there are different hard mats for each mat box. These won't work with the other mat boxes. So each one's gonna have their own set. So make sure you grab the right ones. Let's throw the Tango head on, and so you can see what that is. So let's go grab that. So it already has a quick release plate on the bottom of it, and then the camera will go in here. So, all right, so what I like to do is I like to flip the Euro plate. So let me go over this side so you can see. So this just comes off here. So you push this, pull that. You can push this down, or you can do the red part here. I just like to do it here, it's easier. So I'm gonna flip this around for a couple reasons. One, I like to release the camera this way. It's a lot easier ergonomically, I'll show you. But then also, because of the Tango, the controls for the Tango are in the back here, and it can get in the way of this. And it can be hard to do the controls for both. So make sure this is snapped in. So now we have our Tango. I'll make sure this is loosened. There we go. All right, so the little pin popped up, so we're good. So now we'll throw the camera back on. And it clicks in from the back. All right, make sure that's tight. All right, so now what this is gonna do is, if we loosen this here, we can roll the camera. We can do pretty Dutched. That's as far as we can go that way, and same on the other end. So this is what a Tango is for. So a couple uses for this is obviously just setting up a simple Dutch, and you can do that. And then, you know, you can choose exactly how much Dutch you want and all that. But also it's good if you're in like weird ground, and you don't, obviously, you know, this is not a ball head, so we can't just level the ball head. So what we can do is, you know, if the legs quite aren't right, you can just unloosen this and then just level off with the Tango a little bit. And that helps a lot with leveling. And you can even do, it's not just for like finding the tilt and then leaving it. You could tilt in a shot if you want to. So if you just kind of like are like smooth about it, you just slowly do a Dutch during a shot. And you could even bring it back to level, because if you look here, there's marks. It goes all the way up and all the way down to the other side, and you just bring it back to 0, and then you'll be level again. And then this is the lock. You lock it and it won't go. And then to release it, you just put your thumb here, and then pull this one and then it comes off. So I'm going to lose the Tango for now. Now I'll show you the reason why I like to do it this way. So let's level the head. Is because I like to grab the camera with my right arm, and it's easier to loosen it this way, and then you can just tilt it and you take it. Now if it's on the back, you're kind of doing this awkward reach around kind of thing, and it's weird, or you have to do this, and then you have to, and then because I lift my right hand, then I'm just switching hands, you know what I mean? It's just a lot faster. You can just come in, go like that, boom, you're off. So I like to leave the Euro plate backwards whenever it's on the head. So now I think we're at a pretty good spot. Let's start working on our handheld build, because it could change the way that we have our motors. So let's start doing that. We're gonna put on those rosettes I was talking about earlier that we got. So we'll put those on. I like to face them kind of at this angle where they're kind of facing out towards the lens. I recommend getting backups of these, get like a full, like 2 of them, get a set of them, because sometimes they'll just have issues. They'll just get loose and they won't tighten all the way. Sometimes you have to tighten these screws, and sometimes I've had them strip on me, and it becomes useless. So I always get backups of these as well. And it's just like a wear and tear thing. I mean, these are for handheld grips, so they just get thrown around, and a lot of weight and torque on them, and those little screws, they just get worn out over time. So or people will strip them, or whatever. Okay, so we've got both of these on. Make sure they're really tight. So here we have our spider grips. Now this is, you don't have to use the spider grips the way that I'm using them. It's just how I like to do it, because I can lose all this weight on the bottom when we're doing handheld. And, operators, including myself, like to have a light camera, as light as possible. All right, so before I put them on the rosettes, 2 things that you can do without the rosettes is with rods. So you can do rods. But you have to make sure that whatever rod system you're on is the same. So right now we have a 19 millimeter rod bridge plate, which is the larger rods. And so we want to make sure that our spider grips also have 19 mil. I think all of them have 15 millimeter lightweight, but there are versions where it's 15-15 or 19-15. So make sure that you have the right size, otherwise you might not be able to use these. So because we have these rosettes, we can just lose this bar in the middle that would normally go on the rods. So let's put one here. And it's pretty solid, it's pretty good, no wiggle. All right, so this is where we're gonna run into an issue. So if we look here, so if we can get this, we can get it down here, but it might not be where the operator will want it. So we can get it like that. But I think what we can do is we might be able to reorientate this iris motor so we can get it up at least here. I think if we can get it up to here, we'll be pretty good. So let's see if we can, let's work on this motor here. So now we can get here. I feel like that's good. So now, but if this is an issue, there is like a side extension that you can get for spider grips to get this arm out away from the motors. So I think we'll add those just to have them, because you never know, like this might not work out for whatever reason. So we're gonna add those just in case. So we'll write that on the whiteboard. So the reason why I added that to our list on the whiteboard is because even though this is pretty much a very functional grip right here on this side, there may be a scenario that I just can't foresee on the day where we're gonna need this extension. So we might need it. So, and I just don't realize it for whatever reason. I can't see the future. So we're gonna get that extension anyway, because it's better to have something and not use it than it is to need it and not have it. So that's a big part of what you're doing at a prep, is you're trying to anticipate everything that you can. And even when you can't anticipate something, get something just in case for whatever reason. You never know. You never know. Just get extras, or get a thing that you're like, oh, we're not gonna use it, because a lot of the times, most of the time, you end up needing that thing and you end up using it. So it's better to be safe than sorry. This is basically going to be our handheld build. So what we're going to do is we're going to, like I said earlier, we're going to lose this plate. So we're going to lose all of this stuff. So let's see how that looks. But first, I think for me to slide that out, I'm going to have to lose this lightweight 15 mil rod because I want to be able to slide it both ways. I don't want to be stuck sliding it one way. It can get annoying. So I'm going to get some Allen keys. I'm going to remove this lightweight bracket here. Now I should be able to easily slide this on and off. So there's a release, there's a lever here. So we'll loosen it. And then now we can slide back. And then there's also, it's hard to see, but it's under here, there's this red button, you have to push that. And we got to get our handles up out of the way so I can get it off. Okay, there. And then now we have our handheld mode. And it's way lighter than what it was with this. This is a lot of metal and a lot of weight, a couple pounds at least. All right, so then what we'll want to do next is try to find a good spot for this eyepiece. So we need it to come down and out. And find the balance on your shoulder where it's pretty well balanced. So that's pretty good there. Cool. And then, the operator will adjust the handles how they want. But this is pretty good. Like, it's pretty light. Cool. So now we have our handheld mode. So we'll just slide this back on the plate. And then that way, if we ever have to go back to studio, we're back to studio. We just lock this, and then we're good to go. And then we can just take the handles off if we need to, or you can leave them on. It's up to you. And then there we go. I would just get them out of the way a little bit, If you leave them on, just kind of do something like that. Just do like this. So that way you can just, if you're switching back and forth a lot, I would just leave them on if they're out of the way. And then you can just, we'll put our matte box back on. Make sure your matte box is level because it can throw off the operator. It can throw you off on the level. So I always want to make sure your matte box is leveled. So there. So we have our studio / handheld builds. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go and look at our Easy Rig. So our Easy Rig is like an ergonomic rig that it's like a big vest and it has a bungee system in the back with an arm that goes over, and the bungee pulls down and will click onto the camera, and it can hang. And you obviously want to keep hand on it, but it helps take the weight off of the operator. It's very good for when you're operating from the hip, or if you got to get down low or something like that, or you're going up and down kind of like this. And so, when you're doing handheld and jobs, just ask the operator or the DP if they want one. A lot of DPs don't like them. Personally, I don't like them either, but it does have its use cases. Like I said, if I'm going to be here for a while, I'll use it. But most of the time I don't use one. So let's go grab it and I'll walk you through how we're going to set that up. So here we have our Easy Rig. It comes in this soft case. I'm just going to open it up. So this one, there's different kinds of Easy Rigs. The old ones, you couldn't adjust the tension. In the Vario 5, they came out with, luckily you can adjust the tension on the fly. Before you would have to switch out the rig entirely with different tension. So this makes it a lot easier. There's also ones that have longer arms in the top, and there's ones that have like these spring rigs, and they're always coming out with some new stuff. So this is like a basic Easy Rig. So This allows us to, handheld the camera a lot longer and easier. It takes the weight of the camera. So here, it's a little awkward to get situated. You might have to loosen the straps for the shoulders. I'm pretty skinny, so I can get my arms in there, but you might have to loosen it for yourself. And then you just put this around your waist, and then you tighten the waist. And then we can tighten that up. And then there is another strap here on the chest, but it's right where my GoPro is. Actually, it's a little lower. I might be able to put it on there. Let's see if we can get it in here without interfering. Okay, great. All right, so now we're just gonna try to find the top. All right, so this clamp on here is called a frog clamp, and I think it's pretty sure it's used for climbing. And what it allows us to do is we're gonna use this eye bolt, and we're gonna put it on the top handle, and that's how we're gonna connect our Easy Rig to the camera and have it hold it. To get it to click on the eye bolt, we'll just open it up, and then now it's in. It's not gonna go anywhere. And then to get it off, you just do it like that. You can do it in one hand. It takes a little getting used to, but it's pretty easy. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna figure out where our front and back balance is. Because when the camera's resting on the Easy Rig, you don't want it tilting forward or tilting back. You want it to be as level as possible. And so, we've got a single battery and we've got everything. We're a little front heavy, but I think if we go here in the middle, we're gonna be good. And this is kind of a long eye bolt. Okay, so this eye bolt is a little, the screws on it are a little messed up. So I don't want to force this, so I have another one. And this is why it's good to have your own eye bolts, because you never know. I always like to have one as a backup just in case we lose one or if we just don't have one. And also it's good for the grips when they're rigging. So if we're not doing handheld or anything, but we're doing like some kind of rig over an actor or over the set, we can put this here, and then the grips can hard mount or do a safety line to the camera so that if something does fail, the camera's not going to fall on the actor or fall into the set. So let's put this here in the middle. I'm just going to screw it in a decent amount. It doesn't have to go all the way. I'm going to go until that's pretty good. I can just about see it there in that hole, and then I'm going to keep it flat this way. I'll just bring that down. Cool. So now we've got it on. So now, get this. We're going to do our clamp. So we're going to open it up. And we'll clamp it on there. And now, ideally, you would have an assistant help you with this. So we're going to loosen our sliding plate, because remember, we're going to lose all of this for our handheld. So we're going to lose that. And I'm going to go off the front. So I'm going to slide off the front. And there's a little lock in the back of that plate. So it would help if I had locked the pan too. All right, so now, see, okay, so our tension is too loose. So the camera shouldn't drop. It should be able to I should just be able to let go and it'll just stay there. So what we're gonna have to do is I'm gonna set it down. This is where you have to be careful taking this thing off. So I'm gonna set it on the ground because I don't want this thing to pop up and hit me in the face because the tension on it's very high. So now I'm gonna pop it off. If you had an assistant with you, they could just tighten it for you with it on. But because I'm by myself, I gotta pop it off. So if we look down here, there's this Allen key that slides in this hole here. And then you just put the tool in here. We go right for tighten and left for loosen for the tension. So we're just gonna tighten it a few times. I'm gonna just test it. I'm gonna pull it. Maybe a little bit more. And the more you do this, the better you'll be able to tell. Maybe just a little bit more. It was pretty loose. That feels pretty good. So we'll try that. We'll just put the tool back. When you want to set, you want to be careful. This arm can swing and hit people, especially when it's the longer arm. So it's always good to make sure you have enough room around you so you don't hit anybody or hit anything. It's easy if you just go all the way back and then kind of run your hand up. Pull this down, make sure the clamp is open. I'm just gonna click it. Okay. All right. Now let's see. Tension is good. So now the camera isn't going up or down when I let go. So this is pretty good. And then also we're pretty good front and back. It's tilting forward just a little bit, but if we go any more forward to this next hole, it's going to tilt pretty far back. And if we were to go back one, it would tilt even more forward. So this is a pretty good spot for this handle, for this eye bolt on the handle. So when I'm operating with an easy rig, I like to move the handles back like this, flatten this one out. Then on the other side, I like to go up. And then you got your grip here, and you got it here, and then you can kind of shoot however you need to. You can bring it up, you can bring it down, and you can walk around. So that's it for the easy rig. It's pretty basic. You just have to get your balance and your tension right, and it's good to go. And then whoever's going to wear it can adjust all the straps and things like that. There we go. You have to be really careful, like I said, with this. This thing it'll shoot up and hit you in the face. People have injured their eyes or lost eyes from this thing. So make sure you're very careful with it. So now that we've got our handheld and our studio builds figured out, we're going to move on to the zoom.